Imagine standing on a vast battlefield, your heart pounding, your breath heavy. On one side your teachers, your cousins, your loved ones. On the other side your duty. And in between, a storm of emotions. This is where the Bhagavad Gita begins, not just on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but in the battlefield within us all. It's not merely a war between the Pandavas and Kauravas. It's the timeless war between confusion and clarity, doubt and faith, fear and purpose. A war we all fight every day. Set on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, right before the great Mahabharata war, the Gita begins not with swords and spears, but with a question of right and wrong, of duty and despair, of meaning and mortality. And from that moment, unfolds a timeless dialogue, a manual for life, for courage, for clarity, for peace. Over the course of 18 powerful chapters and 700 sacred shlokas, Lord Krishna reveals the essence of dharma, righteous living; karma, selfless action; bhakti, devotion; jnana, spiritual wisdom; yoga, union with the divine; and above all, how to live in this world without being broken by it. To honor the depth of this wisdom and to help you absorb it fully, we've divided this audiobook summary into two beautifully flowing parts. Part 1, The Battlefield Within, chapters 1 to 9, where we face the inner turmoil, discover the soul's immortality, and learn the path of selfless action, meditation, and divine devotion. Part 2, The Divine Dialogue, chapters 10 to 18, where Krishna reveals his cosmic form, explains the modes of nature, and leads us toward ultimate surrender, liberation, and peace. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step onto the chariot beside Arjuna, not to witness a war, but to win the one that rages quietly within. It doesn't just give you knowledge, it gives you clarity, peace, strength, a quiet kind of power. So if you've ever laid in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, what am I doing with my life? Then the Gita was always meant for you. Let's begin part 1, The Battlefield Within. Bhagavad Gita, part 1, The Battlefield Within. Chapter 1, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the grief that opens the soul. The battlefield of Kurukshetra is ready. Warriors in formation, flags waving, conch shells sounding, tension thick in the air. In the center, two figures sit in a chariot, Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna, once fearless, holds the mighty Gandiva bow. But today, his hands are trembling. He turns to Krishna, his charioteer, and says, "Take me forward, Krishna. Let me see who stands before me." Krishna guides the chariot ahead. And as Arjuna looks across the field, something inside him begins to collapse. He doesn't see enemies. He sees his grandfather Bhishma, his teacher Dronacharya, cousins, uncles, family. People who shaped him. People he once loved. Suddenly his chest tightens. His breath shortens. The Gandiva slips from his hand. What joy is there in this victory, Krishna? If it comes by killing those who once gave me love. His voice trembles. These are not strangers. They are my people. My blood. If this war destroys families, their values will vanish. Chaos will spread, and all that's sacred will fall apart. He can't speak anymore. He sinks to the floor of the chariot. His spirit crushed. His heart shattered. "I will not fight," he says. And in that moment, everything changes. This is not weakness. This is not fear of death. It's something deeper, a soul weighed down by pain, torn between duty and love. But then, something sacred happens. He lifts his eyes to Krishna. And for the first time he speaks not as a warrior, but as a seeker. "My heart is lost. My mind is clouded. I surrender to you. Please, guide me." And that single act of surrender, is where the Bhagavad Gita truly begins. A warrior lays down his weapon. The ego steps aside. And the soul begins to listen. Chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, the voice that rises in silence. The chariot is still. The bow lies on the ground. And Arjuna, once the great warrior, now sits silent, broken, breathless, lost. He came here ready to fight. But now, with the weight of love and duty tearing him apart, he can no longer move. He looks at Krishna, not as a friend anymore, but as a guide, a teacher. And with quiet surrender he says, "My vision is clouded. My heart is drowning. I am your disciple now. Please show me the way." And in that moment, everything begins to shift. Krishna, who had been silent until now, begins to speak. But his voice doesn't rise like thunder. It arrives gently, like dawn after a long, cold night. "Arjuna, where has this weakness come from? This does not suit you. Rise. Cast off this sorrow. You were born for more. Arjuna still trembles, still doubts. I don't want the throne. Not if it's soaked in the blood of those I love. But Krishna doesn't argue. Instead, he begins with truth, deep and eternal. You grieve for what is not truly lost. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor these kings. And never will there be a time when we cease to be. The body dies, but the soul is eternal. It cannot be cut, burned, drowned, or destroyed. Just as we change clothes, the soul changes bodies. It is untouched by time. The battlefield becomes something more, a sacred space, where souls come to play their parts, and then move on. But still, Arjuna hesitates. Even if the soul doesn't die, is this war still right? Isn't action itself a kind of bondage? And so Krishna introduces the wisdom of karma yoga. You have the right to act, Arjuna, but not to the results of your actions. Do your duty. Let go of the outcome. Stay steady in success and failure. That is yoga. Act, not for reward, but as an offering. Now, Krishna begins to call forth the fire within Arjuna. You are a warrior. Your duty is to protect truth, to stand not for anger, but for righteousness. And if you run now, people will say you were brave until it mattered most. He is not shaming him. He is awakening him. And finally, Krishna speaks the heart of the Gita. The one who is steady in joy and sorrow, in gain and loss, in praise and blame. That person is truly wise. That soul is free. This is yoga. Not twisting the body, but stilling the mind, balancing the soul, living with courage without clinging. As chapter 2 ends, Arjuna doesn't rise yet, but something inside him is shifting. The fog hasn't fully cleared, but the storm is slowing, and for the first time, he's not reacting, he's listening. In the next chapter, Krishna will show him how to walk this path, not by running away, but by acting with freedom from within. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. The wind moves softly across the battlefield, but inside Arjuna, something has begun to stir again. He is no longer trembling the way he was, no longer drowning in confusion. Krishna's words, about the soul, about equanimity, about dharma, have entered him like warm light after a long, cold night. But his heart still questions. He looks up at Krishna and quietly asks, if knowledge is higher than action, if inner peace is found in stillness, then why, Krishna, do you ask me to fight? It's a question many of us have felt in our own way. If the goal is peace, why not escape the chaos? Why not avoid the noise, the struggle, the responsibility? Why not just walk away? And Krishna smiles, because this is where the deeper teaching begins. Krishna says gently, Arjuna, you cannot avoid action, not for a single moment. Even in stillness, the mind acts. Even in silence, the ego works. You may renounce the world outwardly, but if desire still burns within, you are no different than one who is entangled. And suddenly the illusion breaks. It's not action that binds us, it's the attachment behind it. It's the craving, the ego, the pride, that makes karma heavy. Krishna reveals that all beings are born into action, that the entire universe moves in cycles. The sun shines, the rivers flow, the winds blow, not for reward but because it is their nature. In the same way, Arjuna, perform your duty, live your dharma, but let go of the hunger for result. Now Krishna explains the essence of karma yoga. When one performs action without desire, without seeking name, fame, gain or result, that action becomes pure. That action becomes worship. He reminds Arjuna that it is not greatness to simply act, nor is it greatness to simply avoid. True wisdom is in acting fully, while remaining inwardly free. And then he says something profound, something that echoes across lifetimes. The wise do not act only for their own liberation. They act to uplift the world. They serve not out of need, but out of compassion. Because when a soul is truly awakened, it no longer asks, what can I get? It asks, what can I give? Krishna now warns of another trap. Some try to escape responsibility, but inside they still crave it. They act on the outside like they are detached, but on the inside they are burning. He is not impressed by empty renunciation. He seeks authenticity. Better to do your duty, however humble, than to perform another's with pride and pretense. And with these words, Krishna crushes comparison. You are not here to be someone else. You are not here to copy another's path. You are here to live your dharma with honesty, humility, and heart. But Arjuna remains silent. And Krishna sees the next barrier that lives quietly in every heart. Desire. Not just the desire for pleasure or wealth, but the subtle longing for control, for recognition, for always wanting life to go your way. Krishna says, desire is the enemy of wisdom. It clouds judgment. It distracts the mind. It consumes like fire, and the more you feed it, the more it grows. And yet, he offers a path, not to suppress desire, but to purify it. Lift your mind higher. Let your desires serve something greater than ego. Let them be rooted in dharma, not indulgence. Because when desire becomes devotion, when action becomes offering, even the busiest life becomes sacred. And as the sun begins to rise higher in the sky, Krishna's words continue to echo in Arjuna's soul. He's not being asked to escape. He's not being told to harden his heart. He's not being forced to fight for pride. He's being shown a deeper truth. That action, done in the spirit of selflessness, becomes freedom. That fulfilling your duty without attachment becomes liberation. That living in the world without being of the world becomes yoga. And so, Krishna leaves him with this. Therefore, Arjuna, perform your action with a steady mind. Surrender the outcome to me. Do not let success or failure enter your heart. And in this, you will find peace. As chapter 3 closes, the battlefield hasn't changed, but something inside Arjuna has. He is beginning to understand. This war is not just about land. It's not even about victory. It is about truth, about doing the right thing with the right heart. The storm inside him is calming, and Krishna is guiding him gently towards something even higher, the wisdom of those who live not for themselves, but for the world. Chapter 4, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Wisdom in Action. The dust on the battlefield hasn't yet risen, but something else has, a quiet fire inside Arjuna's heart. He listens now, not with resistance but with longing. Longing for clarity, for strength, for truth that doesn't shake. And Krishna begins to take him deeper. Krishna looks at Arjuna with gentle eyes and says something he's never said before. This wisdom I share with you now. I shared it long ago with the sun god Vivasvan. And through him, it was passed down to the great sages. Arjuna is stunned. Wait, how could you have lived so long ago, Krishna? You and I were born recently. And Krishna smiles. You have forgotten your past lives, Arjuna. But I remember them all. I am born again and again. Whenever dharma declines, whenever darkness rises, I take form to protect the good and destroy the wicked. This is my promise, across time, across worlds. For the first time, Arjuna sees his friend not just as a charioteer, but as something cosmic, something eternal. The voice guiding him is not just wise, it is divine. Now Krishna returns to the path of karma, but this time with a twist. He explains that action done with knowledge is different from action done blindly. When you act with understanding, when your heart is steady, and your motive is pure, that action does not bind you. It frees you. Such a person sees action in inaction, and inaction in action. In other words, even stillness can become ego. And even movement, if rooted in surrender, can become meditation. Then Krishna reveals something beautiful. The wise man sees his actions as a sacred ritual. Every thought, every deed becomes an offering. He offers his ego, his desire, his attachment, into the fire of knowledge. And when action is purified in this way, it no longer leaves residue. It doesn't pull you down. It lifts you closer to the divine. But how does one gain this wisdom? Krishna answers with humility. Go to the wise. Serve them with respect. Ask questions with a sincere heart. Let their clarity become your mirror. And slowly, layer by layer, the fog begins to lift. When you awaken to truth, Arjuna, you will see all beings as part of the same self. You will no longer hurt. You will no longer fear. As the chapter nears its end, Krishna speaks with gentle urgency. Therefore, Arjuna, cut through your doubt with the sword of knowledge. Rise, stand, and act. Not for victory, not for reward, but because the action itself, when done in truth, is sacred. This is no longer just about battle. This is about awakening. A warrior is slowly becoming a seeker, and the chariot that once carried him to war is now carrying him toward freedom. Chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the quiet power of inner renunciation. The chariot is still in place, but inside Arjuna, questions continue to churn. He's absorbing everything Krishna is saying, about karma, about selfless action, about the soul and divine wisdom, and yet he still hesitates, because part of him still wonders, wouldn't it be better to just give everything up? To walk away from this war, this responsibility, even this life of action itself? He turns to Krishna once more, voice low, mind restless. Krishna, which path is truly better? The path of renunciation or the path of selfless action? And Krishna doesn't hesitate. Both paths, he says, can lead to liberation. But the path of action, performed with inner detachment, is the higher one. Because walking away from the world is not always strength. Sometimes it's escape. True renunciation isn't about closing your eyes to life. It's about opening your heart fully to it, without clinging, without pride, without fear. The one who neither hates nor desires, who has conquered himself, who sees no difference between heat and cold, pleasure and pain, praise and blame. That soul is truly free. Krishna now paints the image of the awakened being. This person may live in the world, may eat, work, speak, love and lead, but inwardly, they remain untouched. Like a lotus leaf floating on water, surrounded by it yet never wet. They perform all actions, but with the mind surrendered. They do not claim ownership. They are not enslaved by outcomes. Their joy comes not from things, but from the self within. They walk quietly through the noise, not numb, not indifferent, but deeply still. And then Krishna says something that stretches the heart wide open. The wise see with equal vision. A learned priest, a cow, an elephant, a dog, even a dog-eater. Because in every form, the same light shines. In every being, the same soul lives. When one sees this, truly sees this, they no longer divide the world into higher and lower, worthy and unworthy, mine and not mine. They live in peace, because they see oneness. Krishna ends the chapter softly. Liberation is not in withdrawing from action. It is in surrendering while acting. It is in seeing yourself not as the doer, but as an instrument of the divine. Give up the burden of ego. Let go of the hunger for reward, and peace will find you. And with that, a subtle silence returns. The idea of running away is no longer tempting, because Arjuna is beginning to see. True freedom isn't in the absence of duty, it is in the presence of a pure heart, right in the middle of the storm. Let's continue this sacred journey into chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, where Krishna now gently turns Arjuna inward, away from war, away from the world, and into the silent core of the soul. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, the discipline of the inner world. The sun now hangs higher above Kurukshetra. The clamor of soldiers in the distance feels far away, because Krishna has taken Arjuna, and us, far beyond the battlefield. After showing the power of selfless action, he now begins to unveil something deeper. There is a path, he says, even more subtle, a path that leads the soul inward, to stillness, to silence, to the source of everything. That path is Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. Krishna begins by redefining what a yogi truly is. Not someone who simply renounces the world. Not someone who just performs rituals. But someone who has mastered themselves. The true yogi, he says, is one who is balanced. In pleasure and pain, in victory and defeat. In solitude and in society. They do not reject the world, but neither are they entangled by it. They live, like the still flame of a lamp, untouched by the wind. Now Krishna offers a rare glimpse. Not just into the idea of meditation but into the practice itself. Let the yogi find a quiet place, he says, seated firmly with body and mind steady. Let them withdraw their attention from the outer world, and turn it inward, to me. And in that silence, something beautiful begins to happen. The storm calms, the noise fades, the ego falls asleep, and the soul begins to awaken. When the restless mind becomes still, when desires no longer pull the heart, that soul rests in me, like a river merging with the ocean. Krishna also speaks to a truth many of us need to hear. This path is not for the one who eats too much, nor for the one who starves, not for the one who sleeps too much, nor for the one who always stays awake, but for the one who is balanced in food, sleep, action, and thought. That one walks the path of yoga. There is no need for extremes, no need to abandon life, only to live it, consciously, truthfully, inwardly awake. Then Krishna says something that touches the heart in a quiet, powerful way. He assures Arjuna, even if a person falls from the path, even if they stumble or fail, their effort is never lost. No step on this path goes in vain. Those who try, sincerely, are never forgotten. They are born again, he says, into lives that bring them closer and closer to the truth, until they finally return home. And finally, Krishna whispers, of all yogis, the one who offers me their love, who remembers me with faith, who surrenders their heart to me, that soul is dearest to me, And with that, chapter 6 draws to a close. The battlefield still waits. But inside Arjuna, the war is shifting. He is no longer being asked to simply rise and fight. He is being asked to awaken, to quiet the noise and listen to something deeper. Something that does not scream. Something that does not rush. Something that waits patiently within. Let's move now into chapter 7, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, where Krishna begins to reveal the true nature of the divine, not as something distant or mysterious, but as something present in everything. Chapter 7, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, knowing the divine that lives in all. A soft breeze moves through the air. Arjuna listens now, not just with his ears but with his entire being. His heart is open. His mind is still. And Krishna begins to reveal something sacred. Now, Arjuna, I will share with you the full knowledge, both Jnana, the knowing, and Vijnana, the realization. Knowing me, nothing else will remain unknown. These are not ordinary words. This is not philosophy. This is personal. Krishna is now speaking as God himself. I am the taste of water, he says, the light of the sun and moon. I am the sacred syllable Om in the Vedas. I am the sound in the sky and the strength in the strong. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything that moves or rests, it all comes from me. And in that moment, the idea of God becomes something entirely new, no longer a being far away, but the essence of all things, in the leaf, in the fire, in the breath. Krishna pauses, then speaks with a quiet sorrow. Yet, most do not recognize me. They are distracted by Maya, illusion, and they forget who I am. Some chase pleasure. Some worship power. Some become lost in rituals. But few seek me. Still he says, for those who do, who come to him with pure hearts, not for gain but for truth, he carries them step by step toward the light. To the sincere seeker, I give the wisdom by which they reach me. And then Krishna says something only love could speak. Those who worship me with love. I live in them and they live in me. No grand offering is needed. No perfect ritual. Only love. A quiet, honest longing for the truth. That is enough to bring you back to the divine. Chapter 7 closes not with thunder, but with a whisper. A whisper that God is not hiding. He's just waiting, in every moment, in every form, in every heartbeat, to be remembered. Let's now continue into the next step of Arjuna's awakening. Chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, where his questions turn toward something deeper. What lies beyond life? What happens at the moment of death? And what lasts forever? Krishna responds, not with mystery but with luminous clarity. Chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, the secret of death and the eternal. Arjuna, now humbled and attentive, asks Krishna quietly, Krishna, what is this Brahman you speak of? What is the eternal soul? What happens when we leave this body behind? The battlefield around them grows quieter in the background, as if even the world is leaning in to listen. And Krishna answers with a calm that feels eternal. The eternal and the perishable. Arjuna, there are two realities. One is perishable, the body, the name, the story. And one is imperishable, the soul, the self, the Brahman. What you see is always changing. What you are, never does. And suddenly the fear of death begins to soften. Because death isn't the end. It's simply a return. A return from the temporary to the timeless. But then Krishna reveals something sacred. Whatever a person remembers at the time of death, that Arjuna they become. That thought guides their next birth. This isn't superstition, it's a reminder. How you live shapes how you leave. And how you leave shapes where you go next. Therefore, Krishna says, remember me, always. Not just at the end, but now, in every moment. Let your life be one long act of devotion. And for those who do remember, who die with their mind on the divine, they come to me, Arjuna. They do not return again to this world of sorrow. They are free. Krishna describes the two great paths, a one that leads back to rebirth, for those still chasing desires, and one that leads to the eternal, for those whose hearts have merged with the Supreme. But even if your devotion is imperfect, if it is sincere, I will carry you across. Chapter 8 ends like a gentle hand resting on the heart. Death, which once seemed cold and terrifying, now feels like a door, and behind it is not darkness, but him, waiting. Now we arrive at the 9th chapter, the heart of part 1. Here, Krishna doesn't just teach, he opens his soul. He speaks not as a philosopher, not even as God in form, but as love itself. Chapter 9, Raja Vidya Rajaguya Yoga, the king of knowledge, the deepest secret. The sky is brighter now. Arjuna's breathing has steadied. His fear is melting into wonder, his doubt into longing. And Krishna's voice becomes even more tender. There's a shift in his words, from guidance to invitation. He says softly, "Now, Arjuna, I will share with you the highest knowledge and the most sacred secret. This is not just for the wise, or the scholarly, or the ascetic. This is for you, for any heart that seeks me with love." Krishna begins, "This knowledge, this truth, is the king of wisdom, the sovereign of secrets. It is pure, uplifting, and never fades." He explains that this wisdom is not locked in temples. It doesn't hide in rituals. It waits humbly inside every human soul, available the moment one chooses love over pride, sincerity over show. Even a small taste of this truth, Krishna says, frees one from great fear. Krishna now reveals his presence in a way that dissolves all boundaries. "I support this entire universe, yet I remain untouched by it. All beings live in me, but I am not limited to any being. Like the wind blowing through space, like pearls strung on a thread, I am there, unseen but essential." And here the image of God changes forever. No longer distant, no longer silent, but living, breathing, in the space between thoughts, in the rhythm of breath, in the core of existence. But then Krishna's voice quiets, and he speaks of something painful. "Though I am everywhere, most do not see me. Blinded by illusion, caught in desires, people worship what they can touch, but forget the one who gives touch its meaning. They offer rituals to gods of power, wealth, and fear, but miss the gentle one who asks only for love." And then Krishna says something so intimate, so human, that time almost stops. "Whoever offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or even water, if it is given with love, I accept it. Not the size of the gift, not the correctness of the ritual, but the heart behind it. That's all that ever mattered. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give, do it as an offering to me, and you will be free." Then Krishna speaks words that lift even the most broken soul. Even the greatest sinner, if they turn to me with devotion, quickly becomes noble. There is no one too fallen, no past too dark, no heart I will reject, if it opens with love. He declares with absolute clarity, "In truth, Arjuna, no one who worships me with devotion is ever lost." And finally, with the gentleness of a friend, the intimacy of a lover, and the stillness of a saint, he whispers, "Fix your mind on me, devote yourself to me, worship me, surrender to me, and I will take care of you, always." And with that, chapter 9 closes, not with thunder, not with battle cries, but with the softest truth of all, that the divine we seek in temples and stars was always whispering inside us. That love, honest, flawed human love, is enough. And with this, part 1 of the Bhagavad Gita comes to a close. From Arjuna's heartbreak to Krishna's cosmic wisdom, we've walked through confusion, courage, silence, and surrender. But this was just the beginning. Because in part 2, Krishna will reveal his true divine form. He will unravel the hidden forces of nature and guide Arjuna and all of us toward the ultimate truth of liberation. The battlefield is about to transform into something far more powerful, a doorway to the infinite. See you in part 2, the divine dialogue, where the soul meets the source.